لله تعالى قال المؤلف رحمه الله. The author, may Allah have mercy upon him, said, وَالتَّكْذِيبُ بِالْقَدَرِ. And one of the heart sins is denying destiny. الشرح أن من معاصي القلب التكذيب بالقدر. The explanation is that one of the hard sins is denying destiny, وهو كفر, and this sin is actually blasphemy. وذلك بأن يعتقد العبد أن شيئا من الأشياء مما هو من الجائزات العقلية يحصل بغير تقدير الله. That would be by a God slave having the conviction that something that is intellectually possible happened without God's destining. وَقَدْ فُسِّرَ الْقَدَرُ بِالتَّدْبِيرِ. And qadar, I'm translating as destiny, which is God's destining, has been interpreted as management, God's management, the divine management. وَمَعْنَاهُ أَنَّ اللَّهَ دَبَّرَ فِي الْأَزَلِ الْأَشْيَاءِ. And what this means is that God managed in eternity the things. Yani managed things in eternity. That means God gave things a predestination. فإذا وقعت تكون على حسب تقديره الأزلي. So if anything happened, it happened in accordance with his eternal destining. This means that he makes everything come out as it is and be arranged in its destined sequence of events. وقد اختلفت عبارات العلماء في تفسيره. And the expressions of the scholars have varied concerning its interpretation. فقد قال بعضهم, some said, إنه إيجاد الله الأشياء على مقدار مخصوص على وفاق علمه الأزلي. Some said it is God's event creating of things according to specific measure and in compliance with his eternal knowledge. وهذا التفسير معروف عند الأشعرية. And this interpretation is known to the Ash'aris. فهو عند هؤلاء من صفات الأفعال. And according to those, this is one of the attributes of doings. That's nice detail there. And it's valid to say that the taqdir, the qadar, which is the taqdir, the destiny, which is the destining, is al-hikmah. It is the divine wisdom for everything to come out the way it comes out. وَالتَّكْذِيبُ بِالْقَدَرِ كُفْرٌ. And denying destiny is blasphemy. Here the Shaykh repeated himself. So that's emphatic. فمن قال إن الله تعالى لم يقدر أعمال العباد. So anyone who says that God, exalted is He, did not predestine the deeds of the slaves, فهو مكذب لله ولرسوله ولكتابه. Then he is a belier of God and of God's messenger and of God's book. قال الله تعالى, said God, exalted is He, إِنَّا كُلَّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقْنَاهُ بِقَدَرٍ. Indeed, we created everything. We created it by destiny. That's the 49th ayah of Surah Al-Qamar. قال المؤلف رحمه الله, said the author, may Allah have mercy upon him. والفرح بالمعصية منه أو من غيره. And one of the heart sins is delight with a sin from oneself or anyone else. الشرح أن من معاصي القلب الفرح بالمعصية. The explanation is that one of the heart sins is delight with a sin. الصادرة منه أو من غيره. A sin that issued forth from oneself or from anyone else. فمن علم بمعصية حصلت من غيره. So anyone who knew of a sin that was committed by someone, ولو في مكان بعيد, even if that were in a faraway land, لم يشهده, and he didn't see it. ففرح بذلك, and so he was delighted about that sin. فقد عصى الله, then he has disobeyed God. فمن علم أن فلانا شرب خمرا. So anyone who knew that so and so drank wine, أو ضرب مسلما ظلما, or that he struck a Muslim unjustly, ونحو ذلك, or the like, يجب عليه أن يكره ذلك. It's obligatory on him to hate that. So, for example, saw the woman outside without her scarf on, and she's not a slave woman, then you hate that because it's haram. وَأَمَّا الْفَرَحُ بِكُفْرِ الْغَيْرِ فَهُوَ كُفْرٌ. And as for being delighted with someone else's blasphemy, that's blasphemy. مَنْ فَرِحَ بِمَعْصِيَةِ الْغَيْرِ لِأَنَّهَا مَعْصِيَةٌ لله فهي كبيرة. Anyone who is happy that someone else committed a sin because it's a sin, then that's a major sin. Being happy with someone else committing a sin because it was a sin that he fell into, that's a major sin. وَأَمَّا إِن فَرِحَ بِمَعْصِيَةٍ لَا لِذَلِكَ. But if one were delighted about a sin not for that reason, فَهِيَ صَغِيرَةٌ, then this delight is a minor sin. هَذَا فِي الْفَرَحِ بِالصَّغِيرَةِ. And that's if he was delighted about a small sin. أَمَّا الْفَرَحُ بِالْكَبِيرَةِ. But concerning delight, being happy about a big sin, فَهُوَ كَبِيرَةٌ فِي الْحَالَيْنِ. Then it's a major sin either way. قال المؤلف رحمه الله, said the author, may Allah have mercy upon him. وَالْغَدْرُ وَلَوْ بِكَافِرٍ. And betrayal is one of the heart sins, even of a disbeliever. كَأَن يُؤَمِّنَهُ ثُمَّ يَقْتُلَهُ. Like to grant him safety and then to kill him. الشرح الغدر من المعاصي المحرمة. The explanation is that betrayal is one of the forbidden sins. وهو من قسم الكبائر, and it's a division of the major sins. وذلك كأن يقول لشخص. And that would be like for someone to say to another, أنت في حمايتي, you are under my protection. أو أنت في أماني, أو لا تخف. Or he says, fear not. ثم يفتك به هو, and then he assassinates him. أو يدل عليه من يفتك به. or he points him out to someone who will kill him, who will assassinate him. ومن الغدر المحرم الذي هو من الكبائر, and a case of the forbidden betrayal that is a major sin is أن يغدر بالإمام, for someone to betray the Muslim ruler بعد أن يبايعه, after paying allegiance to him, بأن يعود محاربا له, by becoming his opponent in war, أو يعلن تمرده على طاعته, or by protesting against him. He says, by displaying his defiance of him. وذلك متفق على حرمته, and this sin, there's an agreement that it is forbidden. إن كان ذلك الإمام راشدا, that's if this imam were a guided caliph. وأما إذا كان غاشما ظالما, now, but if it were the case that the caliph were unjust, فالغدر به حرام عند الجمهور أيضا, then betraying him is still forbidden according to the majority. قال بعض الفقهاء, some jurists said, يجوز الخروج عليه, it is permissible to rebel against him. So that's what some said. So that's not a consensus. والصواب ما عليه الجمهور, but what's correct is what the majority are upon. لما يترتب على الخروج على هذا الإمام الظالم, because of what will be the result of rebelling against this unjust ruler. من الفتن, وذلك لحديث مسلم أن فضالة قال, and this is due to the hadith of Muslim that Fadala said, بايعنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم على ألا ننازع الأمر أهله. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam made a covenant with us to not overthrow the rulers. Qal, he said, إلا أن تروا كفرا بواحا, unless you see from him explicit blasphemy, then you can overthrow him. And that does literally mean explicit blasphemy. So there's something called, according to the hadith, explicit blasphemy. The author says, وَأَمَّا الْغَدْرُ بِالْكَافِرِ, now concerning betrayal of the disbeliever, فهو أنه إذا أمن الكافر الإمام, it is that if the Muslim ruler granted safety to a disbeliever, أو غيره من المسلمين, or some other Muslim, any other Muslim, بأن قيل له لا بأس عليك, like it being said to the kafir, you'll be okay, أو أنت آمن, or you're safe, ولو بكناية, even indirectly, غير صريحة, يفهم منها الكافر الأمان, even if it were indirect, not explicit, but the disbeliever, he understands from it that he's been granted safety. فيحرم الغدر به بالقتل أو نحوه, then it would be forbidden to kill him or the like. وليعلم أن الأمان المقرر شرعا صحته للكافر الحربي, and let it be known that the safety that is recognized religiously for a disbeliever upon whom war is waged, or against whom war is waged, هو تأمينه لمدة 4 أشهر. It is granting him safety for a duration of up to 4 months. فيبطل هذا الأمان بعد 4 أشهر. Then this granting of safety is nullified. فيبلغ مأمنه. So then, when the time is up, he should be escorted to his place of safety. أي يرد إلى ناحيته, meaning he'll be taken back to his area. أي إلى بلاده بلاد الكفر, meaning back to his towns, the towns of blasphemy. ثم يعود إلى حكم الحرابة, and then his judgment of war being waged against him will be reinstated. ولا يجوز للحاكم أو غيره أن يؤمن الكافر لأكثر من 4 أشهر. And it is not permitted for a ruler nor anyone else to grant safety to a disbeliever. Yani, we talk about bringing him over into the Muslim land for more than 4 months. أما الهدنة فأقصاها 10 سنوات. But when it comes to a treaty, its extent is 10 years. ومعناها لا نقاتلكم ولا تقاتلوننا. And the meaning of this treaty is that we shall not fight you and you shall not fight us. فإن نقضوا العهد الذي أخذ عليهم جاز قتالهم. But if they break the treaty, then it would be permissible to fight them. ومن الغدر المحرم أن يعامل المسلم الكافر بالبيع والشراء فيخونه في الوزن أو الكيل. And also included in the forbidden betrayal is for a Muslim to do business with a non-Muslim by a sale or a purchase, and then to cheat him in the weight or in the volume. وأن يضيع وديعة استودعه إياها الكافر, or for him to squander something that the kafir left with him to hold for him. فيتلفها, and he would, for example, ruin it. أو يجحدها, or he would deny that he was ever given it. This is forbidden for the Muslim to do to a kafir. وأن يشتري منه شيئا بثمن مؤجل ثم يجحده, or for a Muslim to buy something from the kafir by credit and then to deny what he owes him. So that's forbidden for the Muslim. What did the Prophet say, alayhi salatu wassalam? Al-Muslimuna inda shurutihim. The Muslims adhere to their conditions. It's important for us to have that honor that the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam taught us, so that we're going to stick to our agreements. Even if you don't want to do business with this person anymore, if it's the case that you can't get out, then just finish your agreement with this person and then don't do business with him anymore. But stay fair to him even if he cheats you, because you're a Muslim. He's a kafir, so you can expect him to cheat you. Maybe he won't. It's not saying he will, but you could expect him to. قال المؤلف رحمه الله, يعني, we are Muslims. It's not expected we're going to cheat the people. That's true. And they are non-Muslims. It is expected they will cheat the people. That's very true. قال المؤلف رحمه الله, said the author, may Allah have mercy upon him. والمكر. And also, one of the heart sins is harming someone in a tricky way, like setting a trap for a Muslim. الشرح أن من معاصي القلب المكر. The explanation is that among the sins of the heart is makr, which is the harmful deceit. والمكر والخديعة بمعنى واحد. Makr has the same meaning as khadi'ah. So khadi'ah means you're tricking the person. هكذا. But to harm him يعني. وهو إيقاع الضرر بالمسلم بطريقة خفية. It is to inflict harm on a Muslim in a sneaky way. فقد أخرج الطبراني في معجمه مرفوعا. الطبراني has produced in his معجم as a prophetic hadith المكر والخداع في النار. Harmful trickery is in the fire. فمن مكر بأحد من المسلمين فقد وقع في الإثم. Anyone who has set a trap for a Muslim to harm him in a deceitful way, then he has fallen into a sin. What do they call that in Kafir law? Entrapment. Entrapment. Always wondered, like, how is it since I was little, like when I knew that one thing the kuffar would do, I don't know if they still do or sometimes do, is they would act like they want to buy drugs. They're police. They act like they want to buy drugs, or they act like they want to hire a prostitute or something like that. And then they go out looking for people so that they can get the person to commit the crime and then lock him up. So strange. Many things like that when I was a child and not a Muslim, and I knew this was the way of the people, the Kafir people. I was one of them. I thought it's so strange. How is this? I remember when I knew that Ronald Reagan was an actor. All I knew him was the president. I was a little kid. He said he's an actor. I said, an actor? That was so crazy to me. How the president was an actor? That's normal to them, though. So those things become normal to you. So it's just, subhanallah. فمن مكر بأحد من المسلمين فقد وقع في الإثم. قال المؤلف رحمه الله, said the author, may Allah have mercy upon him, وبغض الصحابة والآل والصالحين. And among the heart sins is hatred of the companions and the Prophet's people and the pious. Remember, Prophet's people, that's how I'm translating it. The al of the Prophet could mean his family or it could mean his pious followers. So that's why I translated it in a way that you could take the translation either way also. الشرح أن من معاصي القلب بغض أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. The explanation is that one of the sins of the heart is hatred for the companions of the Messenger of God صلى الله عليه وسلم. وهم من لقوه في حياته صلى الله عليه وسلم مع الإيمان به. They are those who met him during his life صلى الله عليه وسلم while believing in him. وسواء طالت صحبة الصحابي له صلى الله عليه وسلم أو لم يطل. Whether this companionship was lengthy or not, yani his accompanying whether his accompanying the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was lengthy or not. وَمَاتَ عَلَى ذَلِكَ, and then he died like that. Then he's a companion. Yani this even includes if the Prophet saw the person and that one's a believer. If someone was a believer, were a believer, and then the Prophet ﷺ saw him in real life, that one is a companion. وَلَوْ تَخَلَّلَتْ بَيْنَ صُحْبَتِهِ لَهُ وَبَيْنَ مَوْتِهِ عَلَى الْإِسْلَامِ رِدَّةٌ. And this one would be a companion even if apostasy came in between his becoming a companion and his death. Meaning, though, his death upon Islam. Even if apostasy came in between his becoming a companion and his death upon Islam, that means he committed apostasy and came back to Islam. When he comes back to Islam, he still has the status of being a sahabi. لأن بعض من صحبه ارتدوا. This is proven by the fact that some of those who accompanied him did commit apostasy. ثم عادوا إلى الإسلام, and then they came back to Islam. فهؤلاء يعدون صحابة, and those are still counted as companions. That's how the scholars regarded them. يحتج بما رووه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, and what they report from the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام is still taken as evidence. ويقبل منهم ذلك, and it is accepted from them what they convey from the Prophet. كما يحتج بغيرهم من الذين ثبتوا على الإسلام, just like what is reported by others who stayed firm on Islam is used as evidence. فالذي يبغض كل الصحابة يكفر. Anyone who hates all of the companions blasphemes. وأما إن أبغض بعضا منهم فلا يكفر. But if he hates only some of them, he does not blaspheme. وأما الآل فالمراد بهم هنا أقاربه صلى الله عليه وسلم المؤمنون وأزواجه. And as for the the Prophet's people, what's meant by them here is his relatives, his believing relatives, and his wives. وَأَمَّا الصَّالِحُونَ, and as for the pious, فَالْمُرَادُ بِهِمُ الْأَتْقِيَاء, what's meant by them are the God-fearing. And what we learned is that atqiya here, God-fearing, doesn't mean saint. Let me say that another way. What we learned is that a taqi, instead of me saying here, because when I say here, that kind of gives the impression I'm talking about right here in this paragraph. I didn't mean that. What we learned is that a taqi is not just by virtue of being a taqi, a wali. You could be a taqi, God-fearing, without being a wali, a saint. Saint is higher level than taqi. Sheikh says here, what's meant by them are the atqiya, the taqis, the God-fearing ones. So does he mean at this spot right here, those who have a level lower than the saints, the God-fearing ones, whose status is lower than the saints, that it's haram to hate them and it's obligatory to love them? I haven't learned that detail. فَيُسْتَغْنَى بِذِكْرِ الصَّالِحِينَ عَنْ ذِكْرِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. And by mentioning the salihun, the pious. So salih I would usually translate it as pious. And taqi, I would translate it as God-fearing, as per our religious education. And wali, I would translate it as saint. Sheikh says, فَيُسْتَغْنَى بِذِكْرِ الصَّالِحِينَ عَنْ ذِكْرِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. And by mentioning the pious, there's no need to mention the scholars. He's saying, we don't have to say, since we said it's obligatory to love the pious, or it's haram to hate them, it's haram to hate the pious. We don't have to say, and it's haram to hate the scholars. لأن العلماء العاملين هم الصالحون هم الصالحون, because practicing scholars are pious. لأنهم أفضل من غيرهم من العلماء, because they are better than other scholars. Practicing scholars are better than other scholars, because some scholars are major sinners. They would still be scholars by virtue of the level of knowledge they have. Even some people, they are disbelievers, but their knowledge is knowledge of a scholar, like Ibn Taymiyyah. Some people would say, Ibn Taymiyyah, why you call him a scholar? He was a scholar. And who else is a scholar? La'natullahi alayhi. Iblis, Satan himself. وأما بغض بعض الأفراد من فساق المسلمين فليس حراما. And as for hating some individuals who are Muslim major sinners, that is not forbidden. But be mindful before you hate a Muslim, because maybe he's better to Allah than you are. Subhanallah. قال المؤلف رحمه الله, said the author, may Allah have mercy upon him, والبخل بما أوجب الله والشح والحرص. And among the heart sins is miserliness concerning what God made obligatory, and let me say here, instead of miserliness for bukhul, I'll say right now for this spot, stinginess. Stinginess concerning what Allah made obligatory, because I find the word stingy to be less than miser. But if you have any comment there for me, feel free to make a comment. So, وَالْبُخْلُ بِمَا أَوْجَبَ اللَّهِ, and stinginess concerning what God made obligatory, or tight-fistedness concerning what God made obligatory. وَالشُّحْ, and miserliness. Now I'm putting that to intensify it. Even more than just being tight-fisted and stingy, which we'll see what the difference is. وَالْحِرْص, and being covetous. Which is not caring where you get your money from. All you care is that you get the money. الشرح, the explanation, من معاصي القلب البخل بما أوجب الله تعالى. Amongst the sins of the heart is stinginess and tight-fistedness concerning what God made obligatory. Exalted is He. كالبخل عن أداء الزكاة للمستحقين, like being tight-fisted concerning paying the zakat to the deserving recipients. This means you have it. You're just holding on to it. وَمِنْهُ الْبُخْلُ عَنْ دَفْعِ نَفَقَةِ الزَّوْجَةِ وَالْأَطْفَالِ. And another example is being stingy or tight-fisted when it comes to spending on your obligatory spousal support and child support. وَالْبُخْلُ عَنْ نَفَقَةِ الْأَبَوَيْنِ الْمُحْتَاجَيْنِ, and being stingy by not supporting your needy parents, not spending on your needy Muslim parents. والبخل عن مواساة القريب مع حاجته. And being tight-fisted with helping out the relative, that's a loose translation, when he's in need. You have to be mindful about not helping out the needy relative, because could take you into the sin of قطع الأرحام, cutting ties. It could make you officially a committer of the sin of cutting ties with the relatives. Helping the needy relative is not the same as supporting him. Who do you have to support? Support is ongoing. Helping somebody out is giving him a handout at some time, at some moment in time, at some days in the year, for example, or one time when you happen to have some money that you can give them. Who do you have to support on a regular basis, though? Your wife, your prepubescent children who don't have their own money, and your poor Muslim parents. That's without details. وَيُرَادِفُهُ الشُّحْ. And what's synonymous to this tight-fistedness and stinginess is the miserliness. وَهُوَ بِمَعْنَاهِ. It has the same meaning. إِلَّا أَنَّ الشُّحَّ يَخُصُّ بِالْبُخْلِ الشَّدِيدِ. But what I'm translating as miserliness here in this instance is the intense stinginess. Because I usually would translate bukhl as miserliness. But I just want to try to put some words that are more or less intense in this spot here. وَقَرِيبٌ مِّن ذَلِكَ الْحِرْصِ. And close to that is the covetousness. لأن الحرص هو شدة تعلق النفس لاحتواء المال وجمعه على الوجه المذموم. Because covetousness is the intense attachment of the self to acquiring money and collecting it in a dispraised way. Acquiring it, yani, being attached to it in a dispraised way. تعلق النفس على الوجه المذموم. Being attached to the money in a dispraised way. كالتوصل به إلى الترفع على الناس. Like to get that money so that he can put himself over others. والتفاخر. And so that he could be boastful and conceited. وعدم بذله إلا في هوى النفس. And he doesn't spend that money in anything but his pleasures. Okay. Let's stop there then. Wallahu a'lam. There's only one sin left in this chapter before we get to the sins of the stomach, but it's long. Might take up a whole lesson itself. So we'll stop there. If you have a question I can answer for you, feel free, please.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
I got two questions. First question is What was the word you said? You said about the scholars. No, not scholar. I'm sorry. You said about the pious,
Mm-hmm.
and use the word for the pious. Uh, Wali. No, no, no. That was saint. Saint for the for Wali. What was the other word you used?
So the taqi is God fearing. The wali is saint, and a salih is a pious person. There should be equal sign there.
Okay.
Sometimes they say salih and they mean wali.
Okay. Now, about being stingy. Now, say you give someone money on a regular, another Muslim regular. This
Yeah.
Muslim is Muslim impoverished.
Yes.
Uh, Sometimes the Muslim asks you, "Do you have?" You tell them, "I don't have right now. Give it to you some other time." And you tell that person that you in having hardships too at times. But this Muslim constantly keep asking you, like pestering you, I could say.
Yeah.
And what should one say to that person? Because you don't care about the money. It's just that you don't have it all the time.
Then you turn them down politely. That's what
Right.
Allah commands us. Raddun jamil. Yani, a nice rejection. A beautiful rejection. Yeah. Say you say something nice to him, but you're turning him down. And as for him, it's not recommended for him to be insistent. If he wants to ask, better for him to not even ask. And if he is gonna ask, better for him not to insist.
But the insistence could be this his bad, his
I
bad.
haven't heard that the insistence is haram. I never learned that the insistence is haram.
Okay.
That's if he's allowed to beg in the first place. He's not allowed to beg if he has enough money, if his money suffices him, or he has a means to get money, like he could go out and hustle and get money if he wanted to. Not like he could try to go hustle, but he might still not make no money. I'm not talking about that. Because sometimes person he could go try hustle, but he's not getting anything. He might not have money, so then it's permissible for him to beg, uh, or let me, yeah, he might not have money, so then it's permissible for him to beg, or be, he might have some kind of skill or trade, but he still can't get money. That's possible. But so if he has money, he can't beg, or if he has a trade, this means if he could go hustle and make money, actually, then he can't beg. And then, so if it's permissible for him to beg, if he has this permission, then I have not learned that insisting is haram. But turning him down politely and nicely is
What
sunnah.
was the
The
saying you said?
Quran commands.
That was so beautiful. You said beautiful turned down or something like. What was it
Yeah,
again?
yeah, a beautiful rejection. Raddan jamila.
What was it
A
saying? Because you
rad,
said beautiful turned down something. You said what was it?
uh, yeah, a beautiful rejection. A nice one, a polite one. A rejection that's jamil. Jamil means nice, beautiful. That means
Okay.
not rude, not rough, not a rejection that displays impatience on your part because you're tired of him nagging you.
MashaAllah. Barakallah people.
Ameen wa fikum. Once one person is begging me, I told him I don't have any money. See, he's stuck with me, he's talking, talking, talking. I'm ready to snap on him. Well, Allah just enabled me not to snap on him. I said, I don't have any money. MashaAllah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك